What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, every single NFL season when it begins, Detroit Lions fans come into the season thinking that this year is going to be different. This year is not going to be like last year where we went 3-12. This year is not going to be like the last year where we failed to make the playoffs and we failed to win a lot of football games. Whether that be because we got new coaches, whether it be because we got new players or new, staffing members or, whatever the case may be, fans of the Lions come into every single NFL season with the hope that this year is going to be different, and they're always saying the facts and the reasons and this and that, and for one reason or another, it very rarely happens. However, in this offseason, there has been so much change in not only the coaching staff, the personnel, the players, the management, the ownership, and everything that has gone on with the Detroit Lions this year has, in my opinion, been a positive impact on the players, on the organization, and this is the offseason where the Detroit Lions are starting to turn a corner and become the franchise, become the team that the fans of the Lions, the fans of Detroit deserve to have. And in this video today, I'm going to tell you exactly why this season is going to be different for the Detroit Lions. Now, before we do get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel, as it takes only 2 seconds out of your day and it helps me push this content out to more Lions fans such as yourselves. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds out of your day to do so, I would be greatly appreciative. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about why this season, this 2020 NFL season, is going to be different for the Detroit Lions. Now, the first and the most major change that happened in this offseason that I think is going a little bit under the radar is the transfer of ownership from Martha Ford to Sheila Ford Hamp. Now, Sheila Ford has been on the job, has been the owner of the Detroit Lions for just a few months now, and we're already starting to see changes in the way that the organization is run, the way that the coaches are allowed to act, the way that the GM is allowed to act, the way the players are allowed to act off the field, what they're allowed to do, as far as voicing their opinion on certain things. We have seen a lot of change in a very short amount of time in this organization, and I think it all stems from the transfer of ownership from Martha Ford down to her daughter in Sheila Ford Hamp. Now, when Martha Ford was the owner of the Detroit Lions, she did not want her team in the news a lot. There were no politics allowed. There were no, big statements. There was no no going out signing Colin Kaepernick, no doing anything signing a controversial player, nothing like that. Nothing was allowed to happen. We weren't allowed to sign Colin Kaepernick. We weren't supposed to go get the bad boys of, the NFL, the troublemakers. We weren't allowed to, do a lot of things that should have been done by this organization. She did not want the politics and the news coverage on the Detroit Lions, it seemed. However, when Sheila took over, the idea that, we have to be these Detroit Lions that are clean, that don't have any of the bad players of the NFL, the troublemakers of the NFL, that we can't make any political statements or do anything to stand up for social injustice or anything like that. We can't be in the news. That mentality changed when Sheila Ford took over. Now, in her first or second day on the job, it was very early, she put out a public statement and said, yeah, if our coaching staff thinks it's a good idea to bring in Colin Kaepernick, if they think that he can improve this team, I'm 100% behind our coaching staff and our GM to go make that move happen. That would never happen under Martha Ford. That would never ever happen. Martha Ford never talked about Colin Kaepernick. She never even entertained the idea of maybe even talking to Colin Kaepernick for even a moment. And that terminology, that idea, that ideology changed as soon as Sheila took over. Another great example of that is the day that the Detroit Lions canceled practice to spread a message, spread awareness for the social injustice that is happening in America right now after somebody was shot in Wisconsin. The Detroit Lions canceled practice in a already shortened offseason. The Detroit Lions canceled practice and decided to make a stand, to make a statement and say that we as NFL players, we as the Detroit Lions are not going to just stand around and accept this reality. We are not going to just sit here and watch this stuff happen in the country that we live in. Again, that would never happen under Martha Ford. Martha Ford would never allow that to happen. She would never allow the coaches to take that day off. She would never allow Bob Quinn to, be there. She would never allow the Detroit Lions to do things like that and, use their platform to change things, to make change in politics, to make change in the country. Martha Ford would never allow that. But under Sheila, these things are happening. The ideology has changed. The idea, the way that this team is being run has already changed so much in just a few months. And I really think that Sheila is going to take this team in the right direction. Sheila Ford, was kind of an underrated move by the Detroit Lions this year. As when Martha Ford stepped down, a lot of people, including myself, didn't really see a whole lot behind it. But in just a few short months, we're already seeing this team turn a corner. We're already seeing them use their platform for better things. We're already seeing them be willing to go out and get some of the riskier players, the Colin Kaepernicks of the world, some of the bad boys of the world, maybe, if Sheila is okay to do that. Now, that obviously you're going to say that doesn't mean a whole lot for the team as far as playing necessarily, but that's not necessarily true either, because the second point I want to get to is that this Detroit Lions team is closer and more bonded than any team the Detroit Lions have had maybe since the 90s when they won the NFC Central. Now, Patricia's first year as the head coach did not go very smoothly with the Detroit Lions. They went from this players coach, this team player in Jim Harbaugh, to this hard-nosed, my way or the highway Matt Patricia, who, really didn't take excuses, really didn't want to hear anybody else's opinion. It was his way or you were getting out of Detroit, and that did not resonate well with a lot of players. He made Darius Slay mad. It made Darius Slay want to trade. He made Damon Harrison not want to come to Detroit after we traded for him. He kind of forced Quandre Diggs out after Quandre Diggs started voicing his opinions. These things just did not resonate with a lot of the Detroit Lions when they came in. As I said, they went from this players coach, the guy that they loved in Jim Caldwell, to a hard-nosed coach that did not want to, listen to anybody else's opinion, and that really drove a rift between this team. Some players were okay with that. Some players were willing to transition, like Jared Davis, like Matthew Stafford, like some of these leaders on the team were willing to transition and say, all right, I understand that I love Jim Caldwell, but the reality is this is our coach now, and I'm going to do what I can to help our team be successful with this coach and, have the players resonate more with this coach the way he likes to do things. That was bad. It drove a rift in between the team. When Matt Patricia came here, a lot of players didn't like the coach. Some players did like the coach, and it kind of drove a rift between the team, and they just weren't as close as they could have been. They were not as bonded. They were not as efficient and, closely bonded as a team as they could be. However, in Matt Patricia's second season, even later in the first season, and now in his third season, Matt Patricia has improved every single year. Even in his second year, Darius Slay said that Matt Patricia came in with a totally different mindset. He was a much better head coach. He was a better person. He was willing to listen to more ideas, expand on ideas. He was willing to listen more than talk. And that is something that I think a lot of great head coaches have is, they have their ideas, they have what they believe is going to work, but the great head coaches are willing to listen to their players and adjust based on how those coaches want to run the team, based on what they believe is the right way to do it. And Matt Patricia has improved as a head coach a lot throughout his first 3 seasons. The record might not show it, but as a coach, as a, motivator, as a person, as a communicator, he has improved in every single facet of being a head coach. And I think it is truly going to pay off this season because this team is closer than it has ever been, and a big part of that goes to Matt Patricia. Now, I've already talked about this team, taking a day off from practice in an already shortened training camp with a global pandemic going on, where they did not get OTAs, they did not get optional minicamp, they did not get to practice until, partway through August, and their training camp was short anyway. It was only 3 weeks. The Detroit Lions, along with every other NFL team, has only had 3 weeks to prepare for the NFL season. 4 weeks, I guess technically, 3 weeks of training camp and 1 week of preparation for week 1. So they've only had 4 weeks of truly practicing and getting on the field and conditioning for football before they can actually before they actually have to play and the games actually count. So in a shortened offseason, the Detroit Lions as a team decided to take a day off practice and stand up for social injustice in America. And, that bonds the players. These players are protesting together. These players are standing up for what they believe in. And I guarantee, and I hope I'm not in the wrong for saying this, and I mean no disrespect if I do say this, but Matt Patricia and Matthew Stafford most likely have not faced racism throughout a majority of their life. I'm pretty certain that Matt Patricia has never really faced racism. I'm pretty sure Matthew Stafford has never really faced racism. But who was right there standing next to their teammates supporting racial injustice and social injustice? Matthew Stafford and Matt Patricia. Every single player was out there standing for their teammates. Every single player during that day off, during that protest, during that speech, during that that moment, that day where they just stood up and they said, we are not going to stand for this. Every single player, whether they faced a lot of social injustice, no social injustice, or something in between, they were there for the country, they were there for the people of Detroit, the people of America, and they were there to support their teammates. And that is really big for a football team, because before you as a football team can become successful, before you can win games, and before you can be a great football team, you have to become a family first before you become a team. Because when you're a family, when you are bonded with these guys and you are willing to give up anything to fight for these guys, you play better as an individual. Your team plays better because they are all willing to put everything on the line for the team. And that just didn't seem like it was the case a few years ago when Matt Patricia first took over. This year, though, they are standing together. They are in unanimous decision about everything this year. Every single player is there to work hard, to win for Matt Patricia, to win for everybody on the roster, for the coaches, for the players, for even the guys in the practice squad. Everybody is there to win for each other, and that is something that the Detroit Lions have not had since Jim Caldwell left, and the Detroit Lions were 9-7 and perennial playoff contenders every single year. Now, that's great, right? You know, I talk about the owner. She's different. She's running things differently. The team is closer. It's more bonded. It's going to play for, they're going to play for each other. They're going to play better because they're trying to win for the coach. They're trying to win for the city. They're trying to win for the fans. You know, all of that is happening. But what about the football side? What about the actual personnel makes me think that this team is going to be different in the 2020 season? Well, the right players are here for the defense now. And I know a lot of people rip on Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn for bringing in the Patriots. We're the Patriots of the Midwest. We're the, Detroit Patriots. All these, hilarious memes, by the way. But, a lot of people are not happy that the Detroit Lions are bringing in all these Patriots, but the Patriots fit the system. The Patriots are here to, help these young guys transition into this new system that Matt Patricia likes to run. The Patriots are here to give a boost to the defense now, but also to coach up these other guys that have not played in the system, that have not played in this very unique system that Matt Patricia likes to run. A lot of rookie players, a lot of young guys in the NFL that are either drafted by the Detroit Lions or picked up after their rookie contract haven't played in a defense like this. So the Patriots are here to make everything go smoothly. The former New England Patriots and Trey Flowers and Jamie Collins and, Danny Shelton, these guys are here to make transition more smooth and make sure that the Detroit Lions do not have another learning curve. They do not have to take another 2 to 3 weeks to get ready to play in this very unique system that Matt Patricia likes to run. They're going to hit the ground running, and they are going to, excel immediately as a defense, and they are going to play well right off the bat. Now, another thing that I think is huge for this organization, huge for this team, is that all of the bad noise is gone. All of the, talk about Darius Slay wants this trade. Darius Slay wants out of Detroit. Snacks Harrison never wanted to be here. Quandre Diggs voicing his unpleasured opinions about, Matt Patricia and some of the way that the defense is being run. All of the noise in this Detroit Lions room, all the negative locker room cancers, all the things that, were holding this team back from being this closely bonded unit that I talked about a minute ago are gone. Darius Slay was traded. He got his wish. We got that voice out of the locker room. Damon Harrison didn't want to be here, so we got him out of the locker room because we don't want guys here that don't want to play in Detroit. Quandre Diggs wasn't happy with the way the defense was being played. That's fine. We get rid of you too. Like, the team right now is closer. They're bonded, as I mentioned, but all the noise is gone. Everybody in the Detroit Lions organization right now wants to win for Matt Patricia. Everybody in the system right now has, bought into Matt Patricia's system. They bought into the culture that he's trying to build. They bought into the system. They bought into the head coach. They bought into the person in Matt Patricia. And that is a lot for a defense. That is a lot for a team. Because if your team is not fully behind their head coach, if your team is not fully behind the guy in charge at that organization, then you're not going to be a successful team. And the first 2 years of Matt Patricia's tenure in Detroit, the team was not fully supporting him. The full team was not behind him giving 100% support, and I think that is what held the Detroit Lions back. However, this year, you're not going to find a player on the team that does not want to win for Matt Patricia. You're not going to find a player on the team that doesn't like Matt Patricia and is not willing to work his butt off to give everything to win for their head coach this season. It just doesn't exist anymore in the Detroit Lions organization. And I think that is something that is huge, and I think that is the right thing, and that was the right move that the Detroit Lions needed to make. They needed to get out these voices. They needed to move these players on from, the guys that didn't want to be here. They needed to get those guys out of the building so that they could I know Matt Patricia wasn't here to rebuild, but they needed to rebuild almost because, some of these players didn't want to be a Matt Patricia guy. Some of these players did not want to be in his system, so we had to get rid of those players and replace them, and that in turn resulted in a rebuild. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, I talked about the right players being here. The defense has changed a lot, even from 2019 to 2020, but the defense since Matt Patricia has been here has gone through a full rebuild, as only one starter from the 2017 Detroit Lions roster, or from the Detroit Lions defense, is still a member of the Detroit Lions team, and that guy is Jarrad Davis, who was a first-round rookie, or was a sophomore, I guess, when Matt Patricia took over. With all that being said, Matt Patricia has changed this team. Matt Patricia has built up the team that he believes is going to win on the field, but also a team that is bonded and is a very close-knit group off the field. These guys are going to do anything for each other. These guys are going to protest with each other. They're going to stand up for what their teammates believe in. They are going to give everything on the field for this Detroit Lions organization, for the city of Detroit, for the fans of the Lions, and they are going to give everything they possibly can to win football games. And I just feel like that is not something that the Detroit Lions have done in recent years. Obviously, they've played hard. They wanted to win for the city, but never before in Matt Patricia's tenure here in Detroit have the players wanted to win for him. Never in Matt Patricia's tenure have the Detroit Lions players wanted to win for Matt Patricia, and this year they do. They want to win for Matt Patricia. They want to win for their coaches. They want to win for the players themselves. They want to play for their teammates. They want to win, and they are going to put everything on the line, and they're not going to hold anything back. There is no grudges this year. There is no disputes this year. There is no rift in the locker room. And when you get rid of those locker room cancers, when you get rid of the rifts in the locker room, and your coaches and your players are 100% bought into the system and the coach and the way things are going to be run, your team excels. The football team excels, and that is exactly what the Detroit Lions are going to do this season. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. What do you guys think about this team? In your guys' opinion, do you think that this Detroit Lions team is actually going to be different in the 2020 season? With the new ownership, with the new management, with these new players that have fully bought into Matt Patricia's system, do you think that these players are ready to win for the city of Detroit? Do you think that this team is going to be different than the other teams we have hyped up in the past? Let me know that down in the comments below. But with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is no Lions before tomorrow, I will see all of you with more Detroit Lions content tomorrow. So with all that being said, though, that's all I got for you guys right now. I will see y'all tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.